Welcome to the CHCH Newsmakers podcast. I'm your host, Rick Zamperin. If it's making news in Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara, across this great country, or around the world, we will tackle it here on Newsmakers. The Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame will welcome the class of 2025 at a ceremony on October 17th at the Meridian Arts Centre in Toronto. This year's inductees include Triumph, Gino Vanelli, Andy Kim, and our guest today, Hamilton's own Ian Thomas. And we say good day to you, Mr. Thomas.
Good day. How's it going, Rick?
Not too bad, eh? Love the shirt, by the way.
Yeah. This is in honor of the buffoon who would be king.
This could be a comedy act. I don't know. You've had an illustrious career, and now you're going into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. When you were first told of this accomplishment, what was going through your mind?
Well, it's lovely. Mm-hmm. It's a lovely thing. And when I was told of the roster, I thought, well, what a wonderful variety of writers. Right. I mean, we're all very, very different writers. And it just made me think of growing up to everything coming out of that one speaker of AM radio. Mm-hmm. And what a variety of music. When I was growing up, it was everything from Dave Brubeck Take 5 to the Stones, the Beatles, to Frank Sinatra, to Johnny Cash, to it just, to the 1910 Fruit Gum Company, So the variety that was on the air in those days, we'll probably never have a situation like that because it was one speaker, it was AM mono. And that was really probably the biggest source of communication with the outside world that most people had in their homes.
Yeah. Was that your inspiration to become a songwriter?
I think it's in there because I'd get turned on to so many different. I was fascinated. I'd sit and count 5/4 tempo when I listened to Dave Brubeck, and whoa, that's amazing! 5/4, a song with 5/4. Yeah. I think that cross-section of so many kinds of music had to be stimulating.
Your mom was a church organist, right?
Yeah, and a harpist.
Yeah. And so obviously her DNA in terms of musical talents got passed on to you.
I guess, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of music in the house and a lot of laughs because my parents were Brits, so we were, sort of born and bred on the Goons and Beyond the Fringe and all the British comedy. And, Dave he'd leave the table and come back and do 5 minutes as a vacuum cleaner salesman. So at a very early age, he started venturing into caricature and, it was a wonderful household.
So you weren't surprised at all when he became what he has become?
Not at all. I actually gave him his first job as a writer.
Okay.
When I was a producer at CBC in 1971, I hired him and Gene Levy.
Yeah.
I had the first rock and roll radio show on CBC. It was called the National Rockworks Company. And Gene and Dave and Don Dickinson, who was another Second City alumnus, they did weekly pieces. One was called End Table, which was a panel discussion on how to end the show every week.
Okay.
And we had Lance Rock the Singing Mountie and just a few little comedic things thrown through basically a music program. And then Dave, many years later, gave me my first film score to do, which was fascinating. So we've been sort of big fans of one another for forever.
And that film score was Strange Brew, right?
No.
Oh, no?
No, it was a thing called 1776. It was a Showtime pay TV movie with most of the Second City guys. It was all about George Washington's younger brother.
Okay.
Who was a bit of a deadbeat. But it took place in 1776.
Yeah.
And so I just basically, you just go to the Baroque period, and, I had a small string section and some woodwinds, so it's a lot of that sort of typical Handel kind of stuff, and it was great fun.
Yeah. You wrote your first song when you were 15, from what I understand. Do you remember what the song was?
Yeah, it was it was about a. It was originally Nora, who I sang with in that window, called it Ian's song because it was the first one I'd ever written, and it was very traditional folk music, and in the manner of blowing in the wind and that type of thing, and I learned how to sort of folk fingerpick off of Ian and Sylvia's version of Early Morning Rain.
Okay.
And, God rest Gord. Whenever I'd bump into Gord Lightfoot in the last 10 years before his death, it would always be, "Are you playing with a full band yet, Ian?" "I'm still playing with a full band, And in 2023, I put a full band together, and it was just a sad thing that, but it was interesting. When I left Kingston, we had played at the Grand Theater there the night before with my full band, and I couldn't sleep. And the next gig was at the River Run in Guelph, so I thought, I'm just going to go home and have lunch with Kate and my lovely wife. And so it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was raining, and I'm thinking Early Morning Rain. And I get home, I had a little nap, and then Catherine informed me that Gord had passed. I'd been singing Early Morning Rain. And so I whipped together a version of Early Morning Rain, sent it all, MP3'd it to the band members, and said, "We're closing the first act with Early Morning Rain." So the boys grabbed it at in preparation and at sound check, and it was wonderful. It just sounded wonderful. And about a week later, I was playing in the theater where months before Gord had introduced my wife to his new wife, and there I am in that dressing room at the theater in St. Catharines. So Gord Lightfoot was in the air there. Sorry about that little transgression, but whenever I hit the name Gord Lightfoot, I have to tell a Gord Lightfoot story.
Well, it's appropriate. I want to go back to, again, when you're 15, you're writing Ian's song. Was the thought behind it that I'm going to be a famous songwriter?
No, it was. It was an escape. I was somewhere else in writing that. I think I was actually having a conscious conversation with my subconscious because it kept spitting ideas out. And
so you're thinking, I got to get this on paper.
Yeah. I started scribbling it down. Songs are an interesting escape to this day. I guess that's the opiate. As a songwriter, I love sitting in the space of a song, emotional, maybe harmonically induced. It's my brother thinks that creativity is as much of an affliction as it is a talent, and I think there's an element of truth to that.
Right.
Songwriting for me, I'll probably do it until I am no more. It's I find great joy in it, and I think as a species, it's really kind of, when you saw that handprint on a cave wall that they'd sprayed berry juice on it, and it left the outline of a human hand. And so when you think of that as kind of original art, boy, what does that say other than we were here,
Yeah.
And there's an element of that, I think, to the arts of wanting to leave something. It's really kind of metaphorical for procreation, I think, in some ways. And then there's the bug that once you have written something or painted something, you want to share that with other people.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I've got quite a few songs by other writers that were monumental to me, that just meant the world to me and took me somewhere. And everybody has those. So to have contributed, albeit through CanCon and all of that, to what is called the soundtrack of people's lives. Wow, what a privilege that is.
So the affliction that's tied to creativity, your thought process is this needs to be out there. Like someone needs to hear this.
No, it's more the need of the writer for to
Your
be
voice
heard.
to be heard. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a funny thing. And I don't know if that's vanity speaking. It's interesting when I do concerts now, and everybody's calling out songs, and from the years of writing them, it's like sitting around a campfire. And I think people have come to know me through my songs, and in some ways now I feel like I come away feeling I've spent some time with extended family somehow. Right. So it's a very communal kind of thing. It may be vanity driven. I'm not exactly sure, or it just may be something that's writ large into humanity and basic sense, how we respond to sentience.
Right.
And I think, in my case, I had the love of this woman who I've loved all my life since I was 16. And I think that gave me such a sense of well-being that out of that came, I want to write a song.
Right.
So yeah, I think if it hadn't been for the heartache of romance, songs never would have been written.
Yeah, you're very true on that one. You're fresh out of high school. You signed with RCA Records. How did that come about?
Well, I had been missing from high school for about 33 days, and was...
He didn't get dropped off at a field trip and forget to come back.
The vice principal thought he had me, and that there was a mandatory, at a month of absence, you could get expelled.
Okay.
And so I was called down to the office, and Ernie Rodway, the principal, said, Ian, you're so close. What are you doing? And I said, well, I've been flogging my songs, and I think I've got a publishing deal going. And he said, finish your year. You're almost there. And so the door opened, and there we were shaking hands, and there was the vice principal with steam coming out of his ears. But that deal I put together between grade 12 and grade 13, and I signed with Sunbury Dunbar Publishing and RCA Records. So I left school in June, and in August I signed my contract with RCA.
And what did your parents think?
Well, my dad, he said, so I take it you don't fancy going to university? Right. And I said, I think I do, but I think I'm going to do this for a while.
Right. And how long do you think a while was going to last?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it was all a series. Doors just kept opening, and I didn't plan anything. And soon my wife was pregnant, and I needed a real job. So I left my first band, and I got a job at CBC as a producer. And I produced live concerts with some of the jazz greats like Gene Krupa. I even did one. I produced Quincy Jones, for God's sakes.
Wow.
And Ray Charles. And it was such an education in recording and writing for me that in that 2-year period where I was there and I was producing other songwriters, sometimes up-and-comers, and I could see what areas were lacking in some of their writing, which, were like, aha moments for me as a writer. And so I started writing my first album at night while I was at CBC. And so then I signed with GRT. Another door opened, and I left CBC. And so doors just kept opening one after another, and I'd walk through them and see what was on the other side.
It's pretty fascinating. And while your musical career is going skyward, Dave's acting career is going in the same direction. What was that dichotomy like?
Well, I sort of hit first because I remember he was the editor of The Silhouette at McMaster in '73 when that came out. And so I remember him doing a rave review of my album.
You already had an album out,
The Silhouette. Yeah. And then he came to write me on a show at CBC, write for me on that show at CBC. Yeah. And then he got into Godspell. And that's where everything just started turning for him. And then he joined the cast of Second City at the Fire Hall Theater. And I think it was about in 4 months, I saw Dave looking like an amateur and fearless and hysterical.
Wow.
And it was such a transformation. It was, Second City was such a school. And keep in mind, his classmates were Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Catherine O'Hara, Gene Levy. I mean, Andrea Martin. My God, you don't get any better than that.
Yeah.
So it was just wonderful to see him blossom.
Yeah. I want to talk about Painted Ladies, because I think that, is it an understatement to say it put you on the map?
No, that's true. Certainly it did in Canada, and it sold records for the record company, which allowed me to record another album, and another, and on it went. It wasn't my most successful song. I think song-wise, some of my biggest successes have occurred in Germany or around the world by other artists.
Right.
In that window in time, though, it broke through the barriers of radio quite nicely. And I never understood why it didn't break the top 20 in Billboard, because it was top 10 in virtually every major city in the United States and Canada. And then I read the book Hitmen, supposedly ghostwritten by, I think it's Yanofsky. He was the, I haven't got the name right. He was the president of CBS. It cost $200,000 to break the Billboard.
Really?
Yeah, top 20.
Huh.
So payola was alive and well, and record companies would only go that route if, they thought they were going to make it all back.
Right.
And, with somebody out of the box, they just let it go where it would go. And unfortunately, the label I had in the United States, I signed with GRT Canada. It was part of GRT United States, and they bought the Chess Janus labels in the United States, and the guy who ran that didn't give a damn about me.
Right.
And so just put it out there. If it sticks, fine. If it doesn't, fine. And actually, Billy Joel experienced the same thing with Piano Man. I think he stopped at number 28.
Wow.
And never understood why that, because he was top 10 in most major cities as well. Interesting.
I didn't know this till I read this last week or so, that you also recorded commercial ads, character voices as well. Do you recall some of them?
Well, I was the voice of Snap the Rice Krispie for 25 years.
Really?
Whoa, look out. And I was also the voice of Clive Firkin for Firkin Pubs. And that was for probably 20 years. But they were all... most of them were characters. I did quite a few. I did 2 or 3 with Catherine O'Hara, a couple with Jane Eastwood, I think. And it was, I'd just get phone calls. And then after 20 years of just getting phone calls, I was doing 2-3 spots a week. I noticed there were like cattle calls for one line in a commercial.
Wow.
And I was getting called, and it wasn't worth a drive to Toronto for me. So that's when I just sort of, thanks very much, but no thanks. But I would still get a few calls from agencies who just went specifically for me, which was lovely. And, oh, my gosh, it was great fun, and it helped feed the family. What can I tell you?
I believe it. You mentioned Billy Joel. You toured with Billy Joel, the Beach Boys, April Wine. Do you have a couple favorite stories from touring with those musicians?
Well, I guess the first tour with April Wine in 1974, after the release of my second album, Long, Long Way, was an eye-opener for me, because it was out in the Maritimes. It was all arenas, and it was like stadium-size rock and roll, and I had this little sort of folky kind of group doing things with acoustic guitars, and a lot of the kids were just looking at me like this. They were... I became aware how drugs were quite prevalent in the Maritimes and that one. You'd be looking at all the kids out there. Whoa, what's this, dude? It was pretty. But I also noted in that window how much I missed my family, and my daughter had appendicitis, and I couldn't get home. I had 6 mouths to feed and on the road, and I didn't get home for at least 7 days, and I thought, well, wow, if this is what career forces on you, I had second thoughts about wanting to play anymore.
Right. So how did that change your approach going forward?
I more inward as a songwriter. Drivable gigs. I played every hellhole in Ontario.
Right.
And so that was all because I was in driving radius. That worked. I did a few more across Canada's. That would be a block of 2 weeks. Like the Stampeders and that sort of thing. I really didn't start to love touring until McLaughlin dragged me sort of kicking and screaming out of my studio because I was doing film scores and more Boomers records. And Murray introduced me to playing beautiful theaters coast to coast. And with Mark Jordan and Cindy Church, 4 really different artists, 4 really different writers. Murray and I had sort of become fast friends, kind of like the old guys on the Muppet Show. We get together and grouse about the music business.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall.
So that, well, I remember on one occasion he just said, "What the hell do you have to do to get a little respect in this business?" And I said, "Wait a second, Murray. From who? The record company weasels who are they're only interested in how many widgets you can sell per week?
Yeah.
I mean, that's their capitalist job, you know?" And then we just started laughing and became fast friends. My wife and I were godparents of his son, Duncan.
Wow.
And so for 24 years now, I have gone coast to coast with Lunch at Allen's, and we're just wrapping that up. We're doing our farewell dates in November in Ontario. So it's sad to see it go, but I've still got some more tours myself, and I'm doing one actually in the spring. So I got something to look forward to.
Nice. That first theater performance, you're out of the pubs, you're out of the hellholes, as you called it. What do you recall from that? What was the biggest difference, apart from the setting?
Well, I had a chance to observe a pro, Murray, who had been doing nonstop touring the whole time I was stuck in my studio for years. He had crossed the country and developed quite a following the hard way, building his way up to the folk clubs, to the theaters. He was an excellent patter writer as well as songwriter. His songs were about something, which is what interested me in folk music initially. It was about something. I loved the extensions of that, with Bob Dylan and with the shooting in Ohio of those 4 students. Neil Young's song, For It in Ohio, was brought out within 2-3 days of that. It was like, he wrote the song, poof, it was on the radio. And it was about something, So all of that conspired in these initial theatrical performances, putting my foot on the same boards in some of these theaters where the Marx Brothers had played, all across the country. Boy, that vaudeville circuit was infinite. You could probably do the same act for 3 years and not hit the same town twice.
Wow.
So from Fort McLeod, in this very, very unassuming little theater where the Marx Brothers had played, their names written on the cedar walls in the dressing room, covered in plexiglass, to the Aurelia Opera House, where, once again, the Marx Brothers had played.
Wow.
And actually, I was talking to Dave about that, and he said, Second City played there once. We took a breather from the Fire Hall Theater, and we went up to the Aurelia Opera House for a week.
Really?
And this is a funny story. Dave came off the stage, and John Candy was supposed to be up next, and so somebody else went on, and Dave went looking for John, and behind the old Aurelia Opera House, there used to be an alleyway. It's now filled in with a big library complex. It's quite beautiful. But Dave just, walked out to the alley and yelled, "John!" And off in the distance, he said, "Over here, Dave." So Dave walks down this alleyway, and there's John having a beer with an old couple in their backyard.
No way.
Yeah. "Oh, Dave, you got to meet something." And Dave says, "You're on." Oh. So, I mean, what is lovely about that story for me was, that's Johnny. He was just such a sweet soul.
Yeah.
But I loved, the next time I went on that stage, I thought, wow, my brothers tread this stage along with the Marx Brothers, and now me. This is fantastic.
That's pretty cool. What is the process of writing a good song? Like you have a thought in your mind. Now you got to put words on a page or a computer screen. What goes into that, and how often do you change it before you say, "Okay, we're done"?
The older I got, I came to realize that 99% of writing is rewriting, and that's true of prose as it is of songwriting. So you can labor over a lyric for a few days, a week, where you keep going, okay, this line is not moving the ball forward,
Right.
so you X that. Try and hone that down. And then it's been called an unmerited grace. Inspiration can rear its head. And under those circumstances, sometimes you're more conduit than writer.
Right.
And you're like scribbling as fast as you can to get this song down.
Yeah.
I've written entire songs in the car on the way home from somewhere and had to run out to my studio back when I had a studio in my barn in Winona. It just made me giggle. Stuff from that barn in Winona played around the world. Movie scores. I did a bunch of ABC movies of the week, and I always laughed. The score from a barn in Winona. Just
That's
funny
phenomenal.
stuff. But the writing, because it's a joy for me, generally speaking, I love getting lost in it. So, and as I get lost in it, more things become available to you. And it amazes me. There's this infinite pool out there. It's humbling.
Yeah.
Of an infinite number of ideas waiting to happen. That's pretty powerful stuff. So at the same time as loving it, it's also humbling when ideas start streaming in. Okay, now where's that coming from? That's so there's a spiritual element to that,
Right.
that commands your respect at the same time as it humbles you.
Yeah. And can one song, as you're writing it down, spark an idea of, oh, this would also be a great song, like an offshoot to it? Maybe not necessarily a sequel, but it sparks another idea.
Quite often, when I sit down to write an album, it usually takes about 2 weeks of writing drivel.
Okay.
For something to begin. It's like priming a pump.
Right.
But some of those ideas that didn't pan out, all of a sudden, when they tie in with another idea that didn't pan out, all of a sudden things start to come together.
Right.
And then once that pump is primed, when I finish writing a song, I start writing another one immediately. And so before I go to bed, I've got something to start working on the next day.
Right, okay.
So you start learning the discipline of it. And the discipline of writing is basically being in place with an instrument, pen and paper in hand, waiting for the incoming.
Because it's all, and you can't control it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you can't control being there,
Yes.
and that's the discipline of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it almost like being in a trance? Would you compare it to something like that?
My wife would agree with that
Right,
analogy.
okay, yeah.
When I'm not quite home, off in my head somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's more, it's a trance is a way to describe it, except you're conscious. And you are conscious of you're resonating with something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a cadence of notes that create a harmonic structure that just for some reason hits you a certain way. It amazed me. I had a song called Good Again. It was off the second Boomers album, and it was never released as a single, but radio stations played it all across the country. And it was a little song about trying to feel good again after the loss of someone you love.
Right.
And I got a call from Anne Murray, who had lost Len Rambo, who was her manager of many, many years, a fellow Nova Scotian. And it was, I've been listening to this damn Boomers album over and over. Do you mind if I do this song on my next album?
Okay.
And so there was an interesting thing, because what happened to me in writing that song, there was a cadence of notes that were sort of a signature, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And when I hit that cadence against the chord structure, oh man, I found my eyes filling as a whoa, there's something really, really resonant in this. And I always thought that song, it was one of the ones that it was just really dear to me. It hit something to me. And there have been songs from other writers that have done that. You know, when my father passed, there was a song called Fields of Gold by Sting that just took me down such a path of the human experience. And it's sort of, you start framing your own grief in a larger perspective. And it's the way of things. And death is a part of life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it. Murray McLaughlin is going to introduce you at the induction ceremony.
He officially will be inducting me.
Yes. What's that going to be like? What do you think he's going to say?
I have no idea. Knowing Murray, there'll be something funny in it, and there'll be something lovely in it. So I just... I'm the winner of the Lucky Bugger Award. You know, really. My friends and family are just all so wonderful. So that Murray is doing this after being tour buddies for the last 24 years, it can't get more meaningful than that, I don't think.
What's your, before we leave this space today, what's your advice for young songwriters today?
Well, when people start writing, they believe that everything they write is perfect. So you have to understand, some people are going to love everything you write, some people are going to hate everything you write, and the vast majority could care less one way or the other. So that's a pretty humbling world you're writing for. So what that does to me is, okay, now you start looking into, well, what's your motivation? So why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you want to be a big star? Are you writing simply, to sell so that you can put food on the table? There are a million motivations to writing, and I think the realization of what the playing field is the best place to start. When you understand your motivations, and if your motivation is the love of song and the discipline of writing songs, then you won't get knocked off your high horse, because strapping creativity to the wheels of industry is a way of losing your creativity and becoming bitter. Because everything's judged in the number of units sold. It's not necessarily the best song. It's just one that maybe resonated with more people, or that the industry got behind it with money. And so it's when you realize your motivations, then you will have writing for the rest of your life, and it's a joy. So it would be, go out of your way to make the joy of writing remain. Don't let the industry throw you off.
Beautifully said, and it's been a joy listening to your music all these years, and I know there's going to be more to come. Congratulations on the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame induction, and thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Nice talking to you.
That is the great Ian Thomas. Thank you for checking out the Newsmakers podcast. And a big thank you to the all-star cast behind the scenes as well. If you like today's episode, click the thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave a comment. You can catch the Newsmakers podcast on chch.com/podcasts and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.